here. Bing. Okay, first of all, and I used this slide the other day. This is USPS statistics on ad mail, billions of pieces. The peak was 213 billion, and last year finished out around 129 billion. So it's down, a lot. That's what I say. I'm seeing more and more articles about how mail is really effective, but that doesn't mean that there's necessarily a lot of people doing it. Okay? So it's the coming thing, maybe a little bit of a resurgence. Maybe it's because that you get more attention. Ultimately, all of your advertising is fighting for attention, and the bigger the crowd, the harder it is to get attention. Well, so in mail, the mailbox is not crowded, so it's an opportunity right now. Okay? So my heart, given the decline, and given that a lot of printing companies, a lot of ad agencies, a lot of just a lot of companies are hurting right now. The number one growth path to grow an agency or a printing company is to help your clients grow. And I've been talking with a lot of USPS people, and I said, and they're asking me, what do you think of EDDM? What do you think of informed delivery? What do you think of unforgettable mail? And I say, the unforgettable mail is like pieces that are $20 per piece. You're not going to add billions of pieces in the mail stream with that cost per piece. It may be effective, but it's just not going to move the needle. And the trouble with informed delivery is that it requires you to do mail first. So if you don't believe in mail, you're not going to care that they can amp up your mail in digital. And in fact, somebody said to me recently, now you've made mail like email. I can tell there's nothing important in my mailbox. There's no sense going today. Now, I've met a lot of people who like informed delivery and use it every day, mainly when there's like legal issues in their life, and they can make sure that their mail is coming to them, even though maybe not everybody wants them to see it. So, I'm not saying it doesn't have use. I'm just saying it's not going to move the needle. And I don't think it has. I think we've seen ever since it got introduced, mail continues to decline. So we're going to talk about how to increase that, how to change that picture for you as a printer, or for you as USPS, or for it all comes down to how to make the mail more effective for you as a marketer. And that's where we're going. Now, I'm calling it the Tactile Marketing System. I have seen actually that coming. I don't know that that's a buzzword, but I have seen a couple of people using it. Tactile, of course, means it's touch. And that's something that digital doesn't have. It doesn't have touch. Okay? Now, we're hearing that digital marketing is real time, right? Digital is real time. But of course, actually, all data is historical. So it's all in the past. They can react faster. And even one of my very favorite mail advocates said, but mail takes so long. And he's right, But we're not talking about who can get there first. We're talking about who can get the sale, who can get the order. And that's the kicker. That's the thing that matters most. Okay? So, in my own experience, first, when I got into direct mail, it was all about, we're going to be able to do one-to-one marketing. We're going to be able to target market. We're going to be able to use a rifle shot, not a shotgun. But, when I was actually doing mailings, you couldn't figure out who exactly to mail. You could kind of get close. It was more like a shotgun than it was like a rifle. And we were told that it was going to get really better. And then they said, okay, now what we've got database marketing. And we're going to use computers, and they're going to tell us who to market to. And we're going to use data, and they're going to tell us. I pioneered that. I pioneered computers in marketing. And then we got to big data. Then we got to AI. It's going to solve it. Well, the problem is the more data you got, the more confused you get, the more spurious correlations you get. AI doesn't help you with that. The data is not self-illuminating. And 87% of AI projects don't even get to AI. Okay. So, and here's the spurious data. What AI requires is a labeled data set. And, you've heard this before. Jeopardy, when they wanted to teach Watson how to play Jeopardy, they gave it 127,000 previously known question and answer pairs. So they could tune it. They could teach it. They could teach it to know what the questions, what the questions meant, but how to look at a sentence and how to understand at least the key elements of that, and then go search for it and the probabilities of it being correct. And that's how Watson beat everybody. Okay? AI requires that data set. When they're teaching cars to drive, they want to label, here's a truck, here's a car, here's a traffic light, etc. And you've probably seen this, and you think they're trying to decide if you're human. No, they don't care if you're human. They assume you're human. What they're trying to figure out is these traffic lights look like traffic lights, like the previous picture, but these don't. These don't have any lights on them. But a human understands that. A human understands a traffic light from both sides. Car doesn't. So they're trying to get you to teach, to build this set of data that they have images of so that they can teach the cars to drive. And a couple of years ago, I started thinking about why could I do all of these levels of machine learning and AI, and I'd been doing it for 25 years, and no one else seems to be able to do it. And what I figured out was it was because of mail. Now, I'm not saying, I wrote this, I've been working on this for about 4 years. I've been working on what are the distinctives of mail, what are the distinctives of direct marketing. And I've been thinking about it for about 4 years. I started with USPS, doing some keynotes and doing some teaching back then. And I want you to just walk through the process with me a little bit. Because it's like, when I would say to people, I'm working on mail. Why would you want mail? Snail mail, junk mail, ad mail. It's gone. It's anachronistic. There it goes. I said, well, I'm not sure it is. 15 years ago, I got so much mail. Ding, you got email. Now today, 220 unread emails. Oh, a letter. Especially if it's from somebody you care about, right? Something like 70% of people enjoy looking at the mail, okay? I'm contending that it's a golden age. It's a golden age, not so much because mail is so much better, but, the prices keep going up. Somebody yesterday told me, about $5 per click. So you do a mailing, you send somebody a postcard, get your air conditioning checked before it gets hot out in Phoenix. And, if you're not careful with your advertising, the person will take that postcard and go on Google. And Google will show them, of course, the paid ads first. They'll click your name because they remember it and they see the postcard. All the causal force is coming from the postcard. And Google, you'll be giving Google an extra $5 just for that. So one of the things we have to figure out is how do we bypass that? How do we bypass these extra charges we're paying? If you're on Angie's List or if you're in Yelp, if you're a restaurant or something, how do we make the advertising most efficient? So digital has gone up in price. The bounce rate keeps going up, 50%, which means that if you're paying $5 for that click, and half the people don't go there on purpose, probably the ones who didn't come from your mailing, you're paying $10 per click. effectively. If you have a landing page, you say, well, I'll do that. That'll get me a better value. Then the bounce rate is 80%. This is from Google's own statistics. So it costs you $25. Now, mail, on the other hand, has 100% engagement. You have to look at it. You have to deal with it or it piles up, right? You have to. And not only that, but it's engagement with the decision maker at the household. So, we had 6 of us at our household for a lot of years with the kids and me and my wife, but not everybody could just dump mail in the trash. No, you got to get to the decision maker. So not only is it engagement, better engagement than pay-per-click, because the bounce rate obviously shows it, but it is tactile, and it's the decision maker. Your brain has 10 times more touch than vision processing, so more engagement even than the ads that go by on your screen, no matter what. No matter what, even if you look at them, right? You have to engage. 100% decision maker engagement. So mail delivers. Mail, that's a good one. Mail is delivered. You understand that? You have a good address on it, it's going to get there. In digital, I don't know, they're talking about 100 billion ad spend for fraud, according to the World Federation of Advertisers, I believe it is, WFA. Anyway, you don't know if it's getting delivered or not. You do a Facebook ad, how do you know? How do you know what Facebook's doing with it? How do you know what Google's doing with it? You really don't. I mean, there was an article just this week that Facebook was inflating the numbers of the views that they were giving to advertisers. There's no audit. Nobody's auditing those guys. They can say whatever they want. They can tell you whatever they want, right? Not the mail. The mail gets delivered. And you have to deal with it. And it's a guaranteed decision maker. And so what this gives us is it gives us a platform. And this platform has been ignored, or, it's like fish in water. They don't realize they're in water because that's where they are. I went around Namoa and I asked them, I'll get to the testing in a second, but I went around Namoa and I asked the president of Namoa and a bunch of different people, what is direct marketing? And they said it's generating a measurable response. And I would say I didn't, because I'm trying to be polite, but measurable, you mean you didn't measure but you could have? That's direct marketing? And if you say it to them, they'll say, oh, I meant measuring. I said, is it testing? Well, I asked Bob Stone that, and he worked on that definition. I said, how could you leave out testing? He said, because we couldn't imagine that someone could measure and wouldn't, and if they're measuring, that they could test and wouldn't. We were all doing it. Our whole focus was on testing, and then we fought with how best to measure. Well, mail gives you the best way to measure. We mail to the address, we ship to the address, okay? We deliver a labeled data set like that Jeopardy. That's why I could do machine learning for 25 years, literally thousands of models for some of the biggest mailers in America and some of the oldest, some of the best, okay? I did it because mail gives us that environment that lets us know what's going on best, okay? Now, back in the 90s, I worked with the U.S. Postal Service. In fact, I have the promo right up here where they sent this out. They sent this beautiful letter out to national advertisers, brands, manufacturers. We work with people like Panasonic, Circuit City, Anheuser-Busch, Oakley, and the Postal Service, the postal salespeople, went into these companies and said, you spend a lot on advertising. You should be trying mail. They could say the same thing today. And we did a number of programs. They all actually got into the mail because part of the shtick was the way you get this snazzy consultant, me, to tell you how best to apply mail in your company is you have to promise to do 50,000 worth of postage. Okay, that sounds fair. So we did these proposals. I have a stack of them still to this day. They were really well done and well received. But you know what happened? They stopped. Why? They stopped because we sold them mail. Mail is hard. Mail takes a while. Nobody wants to do mail. It's easier to do, I remember seeing a presentation by Wayfair, and they said, boy, we had to order paper, we had to lay the things out in advance, like weeks or months in advance. We're not used to that. We're used to throwing something up there and, we can do an item at a time, change the website, right? It was totally different. So it's harder. It's harder than most digital. And in fact, I posted an interview with Dave Rosendahl and Andrew Ettinger and some others, and that's one of the things Andrew said, and one of the things the HVAC guys said. They said, it's easier just to give Google money and say, deliver me leads, deliver me clicks. You don't have to take responsibility. You don't have to think about the offer. You don't have to think about the response device or the vehicle or the list or any of that. Just give it to Google. And so what happened was all of them stopped, as far as I know. They all stopped and never continued with mail. And that's the danger right now. The danger right now is that we're in a potential golden age of mail, and yet we're talking about mail. All the articles I see are for mail. They're not direct mail marketing. They don't understand the entire scope of the system, okay? And in fact, Andrew, I loved about this thing, and I saw that it has 1,200 views right now, which is really good because it was just earlier this week. Andrew said, if somebody comes to me and says, I want to do some mail, he says, well, I can find you printers that'll do that for you. That's not how Andrew does it. And I really encourage you to watch that. I just had a conversation with him just a half an hour ago or something. Well, less than an hour ago. And I just admire him to pieces. And he's doing a wide variety of work. But most printers don't have the perspective that Andrew does. And even Andrew doesn't have the 40 years of solving problems all across the spectrum, from the smallest to the largest. We'll talk about that more. But the first principle is as great as mail is, you don't want to sell mail because people will find out it's hard, it's expensive, and you may not generate the response you're hoping for. With mail, you can actually make the digital work 2 times or 4 times harder for you if you know what you're talking about, if you know what's working. It's that knowledge base that gives mail so much power. And that's what we're talking about building. We're talking about driving the media, the tactics by building on mail and its virtues and its strengths, and letting mail give you the certainty that what you're doing resonates with the marketplace. And we can do that with machine learning, but we can do it a lot of ways. I'm working with a company that's only mailing a couple hundred. We talk about how can we track that? How can we test it? What else could we do? There's a lot of ways to do it, from the very, very smallest to the biggest. And mail gives you that foundation. So tactile marketing, if I have to boil it down, is testing. It's just that simple. It's not simple. It's not just measurable, like the definition of direct marketing that's so awful. I've been fighting that for 30 years. But real testing, scientifically valid experiments, isolate causes That's what you learned in high school. You may not remember it, but that's the whole idea. The whole idea is that by setting it up right, we can actually see the level of causal force. Now, you can't do it in digital. Why? Because you got so many things going on and you can't track them well. Google admitted it. They had an article a couple of months ago, 2 months, called The Messy Middle. And they said, this whole idea of a customer funnel, it's kind of mythological. It's the hero's journey of your marketing. But, for every one person, it can be a big mess. And I did an interview with James on his Hexagon, and I don't want to mess up his last name, but it's coming out one of these days. We'll post it. But he built this hexagon instead, and he says you can connect all the dots any direction you want, and that's the reality, right? But mail is trackable. And I was talking with Andrew just now, and he said, we do a matchback analysis for all our customers, and and I've been doing that for decades. But it's because we mail to the house, and then we can tell who buys from their house, right? It's absolutely pure and simple. And we can do holdout tests where we don't mail everybody, right? And see how they compare. I've got a case study. I'll talk about that in just a minute, okay? But testing takes charge of that data. Testing with buying drives strategy, okay? It's not just clicking on a headline. You don't know if the people click on the headline because the headline is intriguing or click on the headline because it's something they want to buy. The direct mail world, when I got in, it was always, are we selling anything? What's the margin? What's the order processing cost? Are we going to make any money? I look at so many people are talking ROI, and all they're talking about is here's how much we spent and here's how much we sold. Even that is not even close to a true picture of if you're making money or not. So we're focused on buying, not just measurable, but we're also focused on ROI, company valuation, lifetime value. It's a big picture, and you have to understand how these pieces fit together. I went around to Mo. I said, do you test enough? And one of the oldest catalogs in America told me that their CFO said, well, the problem is these holdouts reduce sales and profits. If we test that holdout analysis I just explained, we can see the impact of mail. We can't really see the impact of digital because there isn't that much impact, so you can't isolate it. But the CFO didn't like it because if you mail anything less than 100%, you have less sales. Now, the distance that it drops tells you the impact, okay? Other people said it was complicated to test across channels. Yes, it is. That's why you want someone who knows how to do it. As retailers, this is another person, this is a direct quote, we don't have a testing culture. Essentially, we don't test. And another mailer said we test and retest, but not the big stuff. Another one, more digital, said we measure clicks, persistence, source, but no, we don't really test. And this is the best direct marketing forum in the country, if not the world, NMOA. The process doesn't stop. You learned this in high school. Observation, experiment, explanation, action, and more observation. And it keeps going around. Cool graph, eh? That's what we're focused on. We're focused on a system of marketing. It's strategically different than just varying tactics to reach an audience. We have a feedback mechanism, and it makes us smarter all the while we're using it. This is the kind of thing you want to be selling. This is what I got sold on in 1981 when I worked for Vic Hunter. He explained to me that what we had a way of proving the impact of our advertising. John Wanamaker said, half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. I wish I knew which half. We can tell which half. And the same thing happens with a data set. We build variables, we do analysis, we take action, and we generate more data if we do it well. This is this is the marketing application in the digital world of that same principle, of the scientific method, of scientific advertising. Go read it again. I've just read it again this month. So let's talk about case studies. Jay Jill was on their stock call. Linda Heasley was the president then. This was about a year and a half ago, not long. We planned some shift from direct mail to alternative media options, primarily digital. In hindsight, we moved too much too soon. Eric Nordstrom says our results were hurt by stopping use of direct mail. About the same, I think it was like the same day. Okay? Both of them did it. They did it mindlessly. You know, Nordstrom's could have stopped the mail in one store, two stores, see what the impact was. They didn't have a testing culture. They didn't think about testing. That was not a mistake they needed to make. Talbot's, we wanted to attract a younger woman as our customer. So we killed the catalog and moved to digital. For 2 years, we saw it was a huge mistake after they changed ownership of the company. Let's see, it's not clicking. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I've been in this business of making money with data for 25 years. Go look at my book. We got case studies from all of these. Cabela's told me I made them $2.4 million on the first drop. We used machine learning. Baseball Express went from $5 million to $50 million. Adobe, business to business, we doubled their circulation and we increased the profit per piece by 74%. That's huge change in valuation. That's like a 10 times valuation increase. And the management bought themselves out of Adobe, who didn't care, and sold themselves to Getty. Musician's Friend, they did 11 tests of 8 different modeling companies across the world, not just in the United States. And the last one we won by 321% on a unique test, which is a specific kind of test to measure the methodology of marketing. Very, very scientific, and it was run by the stats professors at UCLA, I believe. Okay, there's my book. You can go see it. Okay, how was I able to do this? It's because I understand the process from beginning to end. The way you test, the way you learn, and the labeled data set. I've been involved with growth, profit, and valuation. These are owners that sold big. Sales Guides, Adobe, Studios, Hubert, iStock, Fisherman, Windham Hill, Bullock Jones, Baseball Express, and Lovesac went public. Okay, Windham Hill got bought out by BMG Records. I think that's there. Bullock Jones used to take me to dinner. I said, "Why are you taking me to dinner, Eric?" He said, "Because every time we used your modeling, we found 20% more names to mail that were profitable." He said, "I'll always take you to dinner." It's really nice. Eric's a nice guy. Here was an actual uniques test that we did where we compared their RFM with our machine learning system. I'm not trying to sell you anything here as far as that you need to do modeling, that you need to do holdout tests. I'm just saying that these things have been available for decades, and that they're fading away, all in light of the digital, basically the digital lies. Now, I began my book with the direct marketing lies, that we know all about you and that we therefore can predict what you'll do, and that's why we would be able to make money with data, because we had so much data. It doesn't work. You can read my book. Windham Hill, here's one. They had this little catalog, but basically they were a record label that was selling at retail at the time, and they invited me out. They said, "We have this catalog. We like help with it, but we don't need to make any money because we know it drives traffic to the retail stores. We just don't know how to measure it. We don't know how much." I said, "Did you ever, and then they said, "We rent mailing lists and they don't work." And, it's a long story you may have heard before. I made a few suggestions, and we generated 600,000 new names that were directly interested in their music, and those names pulled 15%, which was 90,000 new buyers, and they sold out to BMG Records for something like $17 million. What's my point? My point is, a couple of good ideas can make a huge difference to your clients and can dramatically increase the circulation. Some printer, I don't remember who their printer was, some printer made a lot more money when we did that. PetEdge, we came up with a completely different market. The modeling revealed it. It was a total surprise. We grew 20% in a recession and also 20% the next year, 20% the next year. One of the interesting parts was they had me as a regular speaker down in Florida at the ERP company. Smith Gardner was its name, and then it changed, and it was the Mac system and stuff. But I asked John, the president, I said, why do you keep asking me back? You don't invite anybody back. He said, because when you work with people, they grow. That's what I'm trying to make. The case I'm trying to make is that you can grow as a printer, or we can grow as USPS, if we can grow the advertisers, if we can take back market share from digital, which should be simple, and we can show them how to test. That's the game plan. Musician's Friend we already talked about. Oops. Here we go. Here's some holdout tests. Here's people we mailed. Here's people we didn't mail. Down here, and you can see tremendous differential. We did this test 6 times with tens of thousands of catalogs each time, and every time there was a 200 or 300% ROI on the people that we mailed. Why? Why did we do these holdout tests? As we've already said, it actually eroded the total sales. Not a lot, not in $1 billion or a $500 million company, but the reason was because Musician's Friend was owned by Guitar Center, and Guitar Center was owned by an investor group in Dubai. And the investors in Dubai had no catalog culture. Guitar Center felt like every time they sold a guitar through the catalog, it was one less guitar that got sold through the retail store. So there was not a lot of support for the Musician's Friend catalog. So we had to prove to the financial guys over and over why this worked. And that was the beauty of mail, is that we can, unlike just about every other tactic you can do in marketing. Which brings us to Lovesac. So Lovesac had a new VP of marketing. He came from a packaged goods company, and he said, John, why would we mail a catalog to people who already know who we are? Why wouldn't we use that money to go get new customers who don't know about us, to bring them in the store? I said, Eric, Patrick, you're probably right. I don't know. Or you might be right. Let's test it. He said, how do you test it? You can test it? I said, yeah, we can. Here's how we do it. We take a few and we don't mail them, and we see the difference. And we ended up with a 300% ROI. And then when we actually looked at the next door neighbors, because we were literally looking at the data, at the matchback analysis that Andrew was talking about the other day, when we looked at the matchback analysis, we saw a lot of people with a very, very, very similar address, like in an apartment building or whatever. And so we said, okay, let's just look at people with a really close address. And then it was a 900% ROI, meaning every dollar you spend on the catalog got you $9 of bottom line EBITDA profit. EBITDA is what financial guys talk about, which means before interest charges and taxes and some other stuff. Okay, but basically the net profit without a lot of tweaking. Okay, so we made so much money. We proved that there was so much causal impact to mail. I said, we should be testing the offer, because they were doing all kinds of digital and all kinds of TV and all kinds of the beautiful website. We analyzed with a mapping tool, because the theory was, let's do a beautiful website and we won't need the stores. We can just sell direct off the website. Well, it turned out that some big, huge percentage, let's just say 80%, came within 10 miles of the store. I don't remember exactly, but it was something like that. The vast majority of the sales were right around the store, and we could see that on the mapping, except for Mall of America, where they were coming from North Dakota. It's another story. Anyway, so we started to do some postcard testing, testing the offer, there was about 3 or 4 things that they consistently said in their advertising. And like it fits anywhere, or it's, very modular and can be moved around, and there was a few others. What we found was only one of the 4 really, really worked. And it worked so much more effectively that we realized that that's the one we should hone in on. In other words, the marketplace was telling us what worked. Okay? So then we took that approach, and I said, this is so effective at driving people to the store. We should be able to prospect in mail. We should be able to get non-customers to come in. At that point, Brian Dillette from LS Direct had been talking to him, and he said we could do triggered postcards, use TV to drive traffic to your website for acquisition. And then when they go to the website, we can match them back and mail them. Well, that just poured gasoline on it, because by then we'd honed the offer. And this is what I mean by getting 2 to 4 times more effective with your media and your digital, because we knew what to say. And all of a sudden then, from 2016 to 2017, it just went through the roof. You can see that, right? That's 30% growth from a retailer that had been around for quite a few years, and had always grown by adding stores. We didn't add any stores. That's breakthrough. They went public. So, you say, okay, so what? You got some experience. You got a white beard. You know something about mail. What does that mean to me? Well, what I'm going to encourage you today is in joining the WDMA. Now, you can subscribe. It's free. That's, that'll encourage us. Nevertheless, keep in touch for these webinars. But and there's also a WDMA LinkedIn group. Doesn't have a lot of going on, and I forgot to post this webinar until just like an hour ago. But we're going to keep you informed. I do daily live streams, and I talk about mail, and I talk about marketing. So I hope you'll visit that, 10 or 15 minutes a day. One of the printers that I'm working more closely with said, I'm really busy. I wear a lot of hats in my company. And, your little summary of the news, of the marketing news of the day, it just saves me a lot of time. It's, entertaining. So she really thought it was worth her time. And I hope you will think that. We're also talking with some other printers, some big printers with bigger sales forces, about how to help them understand the difference between selling mail, which you don't want to do, and selling direct marketing, selling a system. And again, I encourage you to go back and listen to Andrew's interview, the excerpts. It's on my LinkedIn posts. Or you can write to me, that's always good. So this idea of we're not going to work with you if you just want to put ink on paper. And I'm not saying you shouldn't. I mean, if you're a small printer, yeah, you want the print job. But what you want is customers who understand the repetitive force of advertising and understand the 100% engagement of mail, and that this pays for itself over and over and over. And it builds a sustainable marketing system. Now, what I'm interested in exploring today, and this is part of why I'm glad you're here, is I talked with about 5 or 6 printers this week, and I said, I don't know the best way to structure this. One printer said, well, if you can do what you say, it's worth $10,000 a month. I should put you on retainer, and anytime I want to go after a big account, I want you on the call. You can be part of my team. And, that sounds great to me. Okay. So if you want to do that, just write me, john@wdma.org. That's fine. But I'm not going to assume that everybody's going to trust you have enough trust and faith to do that. He said, you're crazy to do $200 a year. That's insane. He said, you've got, 40 years of growing Cirque and helping people. And, you can't do it for $200. I said, I know. Okay, so here's the entry-level concept, which is $200 is the membership, individual membership. $600 is the corporate membership, and for people who join the WDMA right now, we're going to be putting together a little focus group, and you can be in USPS. We'd love to have you. I saw a bunch of people from USPS registered, so I'm hoping that some of you join. We haven't had any members from the USPS, even though I think you can benefit more than anybody. If you're in a printing company, I want you to join. I talked, like I said, about a half a dozen around the country. You're all in different cities, so that makes it work really well. If you're a marketer, this is really for you, because that's where we ultimately want to talk. We want to talk to the marketers, because I hate to tell you this, but your CFO is talking to your CEO and saying, I don't think the marketing guys are cutting it. I don't see a direct connection between our spend and our results. So if you're hearing rumors about how they might cut your budget, or you've seen a bunch of people get cut already, or they're telling you we need you to do less with more, no, we need you to do more with less, and that kind of talk. And the funny part is that you will always hear it. Even in the best times, you'll always hear this kind of talk. It's the way CFOs always talk. That, what is marketing doing anyway? Well, this is about how can we work together to prove this works. Because once a company embraces this and explores it, and once we do the testing process, like we did with Lovesac, there's just no stopping them. They grew from 50 million to 100 million in the 3 years I worked with them. And then they went public and decided it was their marketing team who was brilliant, which, happens. It's part of the game. Okay? But that's what we can do for people. And we can do it together. Okay? And I can tell you something else. The consultants, the direct mail consultants, I know two nationally known direct mail consultants they're both telling people you gotta mail fewer pieces. You gotta mail fewer pieces because digital is everything. They don't understand. They just don't understand. So are you gonna wait till your mailers or your marketing team, because somebody in Dubai says, gee, it seems like we're spending a lot on mail, are you going to wait till they call the shots for you? Or are you going to get help, and are we going to work together? This battle has been going on every year since I started, but it basically got swamped by all of the digital promotion the last 20 years. Thanks for the hearts. I got a lot of hearts. Okay, so, here's the reasons to support WDMA. We have print and mail daily content. There's nobody talking about mail like I'm talking about mail. They're just, as far as I know, there's nobody that's producing this amount of content. You say, well, yeah, you're just talking off the top of your head. Well, that's true. We're also having regular meetups. We're going to have another one on St. Patrick's Day. Those are more fun than any conference that you're not going to. Okay, and directed content webinars. It's not just fun in the news. Okay, we're developing profiling tools, mapping tools, data analysis, and direct marketing training. All those are pieces I already have in place here at the shop, but we're trying to figure out how they fit with printers. Which ones are the most valuable? Where do we start? Where do we start with each of you? Some of you are huge, mailing millions or billions of pieces. Some of you are tiny. How do we figure that out? And that's what the focus group is going to be about. I'm gonna do that focus group in the next 3 months. I mean, starting now, the next 3 months. Why 3 months? Because I don't know how to, I don't know how to structure it. I don't know any better. So join the WDMA and participate in the 3-month focus group. You can join and not participate. That's okay. We appreciate anybody who wants to encourage us. But the mission of the focus group is, how can we work together to grow your client's circulation? Or if you're a marketer, to grow your circulation as a marketer. Maybe you don't even know anything about mail. How can we help you? What can we do first? Do you want somebody to talk to your CFO? It's probably not going to be your printer, right? CFOs love me more than anyone else. If I could talk to one person in a company, I would talk to the CFO, because marketing, no matter what you think, no matter how effective you think you are, marketing is a line item on the expense side of the P&L. I know it, and the CFO knows it. And unless you can draw a line from that expense item up to the revenue side, they don't believe it. And unless you do marketing like this, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to draw that line. So, you need somebody to talk to your CFO, CEO? Happy to do it. And the great part is, I'm not the guy who's going to say, we're going to cut the waste in your marketing to pay for my time. I'm not sure how we're going to pay for my time yet. That's part of the focus group too. How can we keep me going at this? How can it be sustainable for the printers, for the clients, for the WDMA? If nothing else, I can help you look at your marketing. I had a printer just yesterday send me a mailing piece. We found 6 or 7 ways we could make it better. This is a sign for the state of Vermont maple syrup. I saw it on LinkedIn yesterday. And it's supposed to be a tree that has the spout on it that generates the maple syrup, and it looks pretty good, but it also could maybe look like something else if you didn't think broadly. That's what a second set of eyes can get you. It's a little joke. That's a surprise for my style consultant. I can't wait to hear what that's going to get me. Anyway, we have a little fun. But that second set of eyes can get you 5 or 6 things. And the most important thing is, we're not going to tell you it's wrong. We're going to tell you it's test. Let's test it. Here's how you set up the test. We're going to take it to the next level. You, me, your clients. The mission is to grow your client's circ. Or the mission is, if you're a marketer, to grow your budget, to grow your circ. Okay, so the annual membership, $195. We have a monthly thing. You're getting $20 a month, and you can still be in the focus groups if you join now. Okay, corporate memberships, $600. You can add extra employees, and we have a monthly membership. It's pretty straightforward. Let's get started. I hope this wasn't too commercial. I have a real hard time. I was trying to think of why I have a hard time at the end of these webinars encouraging you to join. And I think maybe it was because I didn't understand the value, and I'm starting to. And I'm starting to have some printers talk to me about how helpful this has been and how it could be more helpful. And that's because I really want to help. I want to help you, I want to help your clients, and I want to help grow mail through direct marketing, not as a one-off. That's the big mistake. So that's the tactile marketing system, the idea of thinking bigger, thinking more broadly, the idea of seeing past just the opportunity to put ink on paper. Are there benefits? Sure. I think if you get somebody to do a mailing piece, they'll benefit. But they probably won't be set up to track it. They probably won't have the testing in place. They don't understand the full picture. I saw some comments, mostly from Keith. If there's anybody out there that wants to comment, we can go on a little bit. Pardon? Oh, Style Consultant's behind me here. So let's go do this together. If you're already a member, we'll get in touch with you. We're going to have a meetup on St. Patrick's Day in the afternoon probably. That'll be fun. I want to thank you for joining me. You can reach me on LinkedIn, John Miglosh. You can always write to me, john@wdma.org. I do watch those. And have a great day. Like and share. Your friends will know you're smart. See ya.